everyone, and welcome to Anonymous Talks. Anonymous Talks is a platform where anyone can share their story anonymously for the purpose of helping others going through a similar experience. It is also a platform to have conversations and discussions to address topics, some of which are controversial. I'm your host, my name is Dana, and I'm also a life coach who loves helping people find the power within themselves. Today, we have an In the Mind of episode. In the Mind of a Perfectionist. My guest will be explaining what it means to be a perfectionist to him. Now, as per Google, a perfectionist is a person who refuses to accept any standard short of perfection. So, I would ask my guest, what does it mean to be a perfectionist to you?
Being a perfectionist to me was like trying to stand out, trying to not to accept any standards, just like Google explained it, refusing to accept being average, being like anyone else.
Unique?
Unique,
Yeah?
exactly. Standing out, basically. That's how I could summarize it, how I used to be when I was a perfectionist.
Okay. What made you want to be a perfectionist?
That's a very deep question. I never actually came to the origin of the reason or the cause, but what I choose to think was the reason is back in days when I was a kid, I used to see other kids having skills, having things that I don't have. So my only option back then was for me to stand out in whatever I was going to do, regardless how small or big was it. And for me to stand out was basically trying to get everything done perfectly,
Okay.
which requires me to be pointing out the imperfections in everything, trying to think outside of the box, trying to stand out in any way, trying to put myself in the shoes of others. How would they think? And try to overcome that, try to step up my game. You get
Okay.
me?
Interesting. You said many things here. But I'll start with the first thing. What I understood is that what made you a perfectionist is comparing yourself to others.
Exactly.
Is that a good thing?
It's not a good thing when you look at it at this point. Like back in days, I personally never knew what was a good or bad thing. You get me? Just went with the flow with my feelings,
Yeah.
how I felt,
Mm.
how the perspective of others made me feel, and I just reacted. It wasn't planned. It wasn't a decision that I took.
You weren't conscious of
Exactly,
it.
I wasn't conscious about it.
Okay.
So this is how I ended up being a perfectionist.
Interesting.
Yeah.
For me, because I'm a perfectionist as well.
Okay.
I'm not sure if I was born with it or if I saw it and I was like, I want to be that way.
Okay.
Because I think I'm a perfectionist because my dad is a perfectionist.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't know if I saw him being a perfectionist and saw how good of a reward that is, like, because it's rewarding. You get things right. And I was like, oh, I like that. I want to be a perfectionist as well.
Okay.
And then you would ask, like, okay, why did I even like that? So is it something in my nature that to make me like it? Because people can go like, you know what, I'm not even interested. That's too much work.
Okay.
I don't want to do that, you know? So yeah, for me, it's because of that. I know it's because of that.
Okay.
But whether it's I inherited it as in genetically or whether I saw it and I liked it and I became that because I decided to become that, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's funny how you mentioned that because I just remembered
Mm.
when I became conscious
Mm.
being a perfectionist. That was a long time after I made that decision, or back in then when I wasn't conscious about. The moment I got conscious about, I had the decision to keep it going or cut it off.
Mm.
After that, I started thinking of some random things on how me being a perfectionist affected my social life. Like how would others see me?
Interesting.
Exactly.
How?
So obviously, once you're a perfectionist, once you get things done perfectly, people at first glance would be shocked, surprised, right?
Mm.
And that exact feeling makes you remarkable, makes you unforgettable, right? So you simply or basically make an impact. All right.
Nice.
You are marked. They know you because you did something they wouldn't have thought of. You get me?
Cool.
So that satisfaction I get is, no matter how long or how short that satisfaction is, was something that made me decide to keep going on being a perfectionist. Because after that, it was like, oh, you are the guy who did that thing the other
Okay.
day. You get me?
Let me give you a different perspective, and it's a bit not harsh, but like a tough question, kind of. Is that a need to make an impact, or is it a need for validation?
It was a need for validation. That was, I'm telling you, the satisfaction. You get me? The validation that I get by.
Because there's a difference. Like if it's a need to make an impact, you don't care about other people in a certain way. But if it's a need for validation, it's validation from people. So if you made an impact, it's just for you to feel good. Like, okay, I made an impact. It's for you. The validation comes from within, instead of it coming from other people. What do you think?
At the beginning, it was the validation.
Okay.
I assure you. Not gonna deny that. At the beginning, it was a validation that you get from others. All right. The fact that you get called for doing things that no one was able to do because you have achieved something that no one was able to do at the past, right? So that was the validation. But then throughout the time, I started realizing that the satisfaction of actually making an impact on others, right, by doing things abnormal ways, get me, throughout down the line, right, started becoming more aware, more educated in turning that perfectionism into something that has a value in society, you get me, rather than just having a value to my own self.
Okay.
Because I don't know if you read it before or not, perfectionism or perfectionists have two ways, right? There is a good one and a bad one.
Okay.
And everything in life is a matter of perspective.
Definitely.
Right? Which brings us to the next thing, which is reframing. It's how you see things and how you reframe things from being bad to being good, and from being good to being bad. So I believe, or I choose to believe, in the past, I made the decision of reframing how I saw myself as a perfectionist, from being a bad one to becoming a good perfectionist.
Can you differentiate how it was bad and how it become?
I think it was bad when I took that validation to myself.
How did that affect you?
It affected me. Okay, that's a very deep question. How did that affect me? It affected me in a way that no matter how much I loved the idea of me being validated, it was short. And deep down, I knew that I caused it. It wasn't natural from people, right? Like, if someone is feeling grateful for having me in their life, it was because I did something.
Okay.
Right? They didn't take me as who I am.
That's very interesting.
I'm not sure if you're following on this.
I don't know how to relate. Like, okay, I want to see how it's related to being a perfectionist.
Okay.
So it's interesting. So you're saying,
let me put it to you. Okay. When I was conscious of me being a perfectionist, all right, as I told you earlier, I had the decision to keep it going or to stop it. Okay. And I said what kept me going was the validation, right? To a certain time, to a certain period of time. Now, I had the decision, on the other hand, to be natural, all right, not a perfectionist.
Okay. You had the choice of doing
Exactly.
of being that.
When I became conscious, right?
Yes.
I had the choice to let everything go smoothly. Whatever happens, happens. Whoever want to see me in a way, they can see me wherever. I don't care. You get me? But I decided to still continue the perfectionism.
Yeah.
Right? Because that made people see me in a certain way. As if like I was forcing an identity of myself to make people perceive me or see me in a certain way.
So you continued for validation.
Exactly.
And appreciation, we
exactly.
can say as well. Okay.
All right.
And that's still negative. We still agree
it's still,
that that's,
yes, exactly.
Okay.
It's still in the negative.
I'm waiting for the turning point.
The turning point is when I realized that I no longer need people validation, right? To know my value. Whoever want to validate me in their life or validates me or see me in a certain way, they can see me. I don't care. I stopped caring because, as I said earlier, it started when I was as a kid, and I didn't get that much validation or appreciation, right? Because I used to think that I don't have anything to be validated for, to be valued for.
Okay.
You seeing the pattern?
Yes. This can be said in a different way as well, and this is very common in many people. Feeling like you're not enough.
Exactly.
So I am not enough created you being a perfectionist.
Exactly.
In pursuit of becoming enough.
Exactly.
Oof.
Yeah. I think that's the root cause of it. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very.
Okay. So you said like it turned around and now it's not a need of validation. It's you being yourself because you're still a perfectionist to a certain degree, or no?
I choose not to call myself as perfectionist
I'm
anymore.
like, sorry,
Yes.
done with that. Not a
I choose
perfectionist
not to
anymore.
call myself, yeah.
Okay.
Because as I said, I reframe it now
As
I reframe it in a way, not as a noun, all right, not as one word, as a definition. It could be someone who aims for the best results rather than the perfect ones. If I can
what's the
do,
difference?
what's the difference? Aiming for the best is knowing what you can do, what you have control over, right, and do it. That's aiming for the best.
Nice.
Aiming for perfectionism, all right, is trying to take control over everything that you have control and the things that you don't have control of.
Okay.
And here where things get messy and feelings are involved and your insecurities are involved and you are literally driving away from the universe destiny or whatever it is universe plan for you. Because I believe if you want to do something, for example, you plan it, you organize your things, you do whatever you can do, then whatever happens. That's aiming for the best.
Okay. So
While
you
aiming
accept.
for, yeah, exactly, you accept. You you don't accept from the beginning, you accept the results, and then from there you learn, you move on, you try harder, whatever it is. But as a perfectionist, you
Does
wouldn't
not
accept
accept.
from the beginning. You wouldn't accept nothing but that certain
Perfect.
thing you were looking for. Exactly.
Okay. So now you're talking about certain qualities that come with being a perfectionist. You
Yes.
said control, so
Yes.
controller or controlling, kind of. What else?
The skills or the qualities that come with being a perfectionist. There are some positive ones and there are some negative ones. The positive ones could be the organizing, the planning, the risk management, the time management, being creative. Because as I said, if you would want to stand out, you will have to think outside of the box, and by that, you have to be one hell of a creative person. Right?
Interesting. Usually, because of being organized and structured as a perfectionist, you would think that they can't be creative. But your cause from the
Yeah,
beginning is creativity,
it is
is being unique.
creativity. Exactly.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's it for me as in qualities. Now the negative ones could be, stress, self-criticism, devaluing yourself, lowering self-esteem. Could end up by you having a low emotional mentality, low emotional, what do they call it?
Intelligence, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, low emotional intelligence, because you reach a point where you're trying to control everything. You get me?
So you wouldn't be empathetic?
Yeah, you wouldn't be empathetic
Interesting.
because you wouldn't care about anything else but the result.
Did you reach that point?
Yeah, I believe I have reached it once. Yeah.
Because you wanted to be perfect. You stopped. Oof.
Yeah,
You
that's
stopped
extreme
caring
level. That's a
about
very
others.
exactly.
and you were doing it in the first place for others.
Exactly.
Wow.
That's what I was trying to say. You get lost down the way, you get me, to reaching your
It takes over
results.
in a certain way.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Because the root cause is an insecurity, or like, you get me, it's a negative thing. So everything that builds up from it is never stabilized. It could turn out to be as awful as being non-empathetic. You get me? You wouldn't care about others.
Okay.
Yeah. Some people turn out to be self-centered, narcissists.
Because of being a perfectionist.
Exactly.
Okay.
But yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The negative side is intense.
It is very intense. It is very intense. And what's even worse, if you're not aware that you are a perfectionist. That's a whole different conversation.
Are not.
Yes.
But when I start saying something like all or nothing mentality, you go like, oh, wait a second. Like, yeah. Maybe.
I think that every human being has a certain percentage of being a perfectionist, because we as humans, we reach a point where we don't like to settle. We don't accept things how are they. We always like to improve. We always like to develop. That could turn to be like being a perfectionist to a certain limit. Yeah. It's not that high. You couldn't notice it easily.
I understand the negative side because you go into extremes.
Yeah.
Right. So being a perfectionist could be a good thing as long as you manage it.
Exactly.
So it needs to be managed in a certain way that you're not completely a non-perfectionist and you don't care about anything, and still you do not let the disadvantages that comes with being a perfectionist take over. And the first step for that is awareness. So once you're aware, you consciously decide of what you're gonna let take over and what you will not.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's how it is for me as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
Interesting.
And like, you know what? I'm working on something. I know I see certain things that are not completely right, and it drives me crazy. But I'm like, you know what? I like it that way. I'm gonna leave it that way.
You're gonna accept it.
Yes. Yeah. Because, for example, the time that it will take me to fix it is like cost benefit.
Exactly.
It will take a lot of time to fix something that no one is gonna even notice.
That's right.
And I know it.
Yes.
I notice it because I'm working on it and I know how I want it to be.
Yes.
But others will not care that much.
Exactly.
So, خلاص, chill.
Yes.
Yeah. I wanted to ask, what was the turning point for you to decide, I don't want to be a perfectionist anymore, or I want to reframe it into what you already defined?
I was tired. Simple as that.
Like, خلاص, done with this.
I was done. I was really tired. I reached a point where I even lost my identity.
Wow.
Yes. Like, I don't even know who I am. Back then, of course. I was so exhausted mentally and emotionally and physically, because, always trying to achieve something. And for what? Like, what's the purpose? To be validated by society, to be appreciated. I wanted to do that for a different purpose. Yeah, that was my turning point. Yes.
What was the purpose, if you would want to share?
I wanted to do it. I wanted to start doing things because I wanted to do them. It's that simple.
For yourself?
Yes.
Hello.
If I'm achieving something, I'm achieving it for me, for my future me, for me to remind myself of how valuable I am, to regain my self-confidence, my self-esteem, for my own self.
Amazing.
Yes.
And I completely agree with that. We need to do things for ourselves because we are the most important people in our lives. Each person for him or herself.
Yes.
And once you believe in that, you're a better version of yourself and you help the society even indirectly.
Yes.
And the people around you and loved ones.
Exactly.
From loved ones to the society,
exactly.
In a way that no one could.
Yes. Like, I remember once I was questioning myself, like, if I could do anything this perfect just for the sake of others, imagine what can I do for myself. You get me?
Yes.
Yeah. That was a mind blown for me. I think that was the moment when I then after that started gradually shifting my focus and shifting my perspective.
Amazing. All right, that's all we have on being a perfectionist. Having said that, different people may define being a perfectionist in different ways. This is just my guess and my own perception of being a perfectionist. Now, I would like to thank my guest. Thank you for being my guest and sharing your experience.
Thank you very much for having me. It was a very good time.
Thank you.